Non-sports cards are off to a hot start in 2025. Today we're looking at the top 25 sales on eBay. And man, there is a ton of Batman cards from 1966. You're going to see also some Star Wars cards, and there even is a Thomas Edison from Duke N76. Let's take a look at some of the top sales. All right, so let's get started. Criteria for these non-sports videos. First, for vintage non-sports 2000 or earlier, no duplicate cards are allowed in these videos. Variants and autos are okay, and then both graded and raw card sales are in here. And if I did miss any sales, let me know down below in the comment section. That way I can update my query to pull the data next month. We're going to start off with a 1940 Superman card number 59 in the SGC5 grade. This copy sold for $1,000, but taking a look at past comps, I think this is actually a pretty good deal for the card. Both the non-sports space as well as kind of Superman cards have grown quite a bit since 2014, even last 4 or 5 years. I don't know, I'm comparing a PSA to SGC. Typically, they're about the same in most cases, but this is a set that there are a ton of registry collectors for, which is why in this set you'll sometimes see a big price difference between a PSA and SGC. Not always the case in non-sports, but this one in particular, there's a ton of set collectors for. But I still think this is a little bit cheap compared to the past comps. But yeah, we're starting off the list at $1,000 this month. Up next, a 1966 Batman Robin Boy Wonder. Card number 2 in one of the most iconic Batman sets out there. There's 43 PSA 8s with 16 graded higher. This one sold for $1,150. Also, this card probably has 5 different versions out there. Do you know all 5? All right, Three Stooges. Again, another pretty popular set from the 50s. You see the Three Stooges all the time in these videos, whether it's in high grade or cards 1 through 3. Regardless, this one in a 10 sold for $1,200. It is a pop for the last 10 of this card actually sold for $530 back in 2023. And yeah, what do you think I am? A pair of pants. All right, we're jumping into Sea Raiders. I know a lot of people enjoy the Blackbeard Sea Raider card. Unfortunately, it's not in the list this month, but instead we're getting Alwida, I think that's how you pronounce it. I probably mispronounce it in general. But anyways, legendary Viking pirate princess who led a fleet of Sea Raiders. Only one of these are graded higher, and the sold price on this also $1,200. All right, we're jumping into a holo of Spider-Man from 1990 Marvel Universe. This is a CGC 10. When you jump into from a 9 into a 10 grade, these prices tend to spike quite a bit because they are super condition sensitive and they're very tough to gem. This one sold for $1,224. Number 20, another Batman card, which I am going to tell you guys, if you're a fan of Batman, there is a ton of cards in the video this month. This is Let's Go in a PSA 9. The last 9 sold for $324 back in 2021. This one sold for $1,249.10. There's 6 PSA 9s out there as well as 2 10s. Another Batman 1966 card number 1. Now, this one has 114 in the PSA 7 grade with 82 graded higher. This copy over here sold for $1,275. I will say the centering on this one is kind of poor, but it does look like it has pretty sharp corners. Superman, this is the novelty premium coupon. Now the bottom is cut off on this one, which does impact the value quite a bit. I was actually kind of surprised this sold for $1,381, especially based off of other recent sales within the last year with the coupon attached. In my opinion, I'd rather have the coupon attached in a 1 or even authentic grade over this in a 2, although it does have pretty good eye appeal for it too. I just think there should be a little bit more of a premium if you have the whole thing intact. Also, from the knowledge I've picked out from other collectors, these were issued before the Gum Ink set, which you saw a little bit earlier. It's still a very, very strong sale for this market. All right, we have Orville Wright. This is from 1936 Carreras. Pretty common set to somewhat find out there, but there isn't a ton of high grade examples. You're going to see a decent amount of 5s, 6s, and 7s. But I was kind of surprised to look at the pop. A PSA 9 is only a pop 1, and there's no 10s out there. I do think these all will change over time because these aren't super scarce. But still, obviously, the Wright brothers are huge for aviation and just technology in general, and getting the highest graded of a card from I wouldn't say it's fully iconic, but a somewhat of iconic set. There is a lot of people that chase cards within the set. $1,500 on this. All right, we're jumping into a Star Trek auto. DeForest Kelley passed away in 1999. I believe this is a 98 or a 99 release. I can't remember for sure, but this is one of the non-sports autos out of the 90s. It's been one of our other videos as well. This example over here sold for $1,615. Jumping into the 15th spot, we have Beatles as well as Cassius Clay. Now, because the Beatles are featured on here, it is in the non-sports video. I am launching an alternative sports or other sports video here on the channel, so maybe I'll put that in that video as well if it does make the top 25. A good little bit crossover card. Let me know. And also, that's a little bit of a plug for a future video. So if you guys do enjoy these type of videos, make sure to check that one out a little bit later. This is from the famous Cassius Clay Liston fight. Liston did not want to appear with the Beatles, so the Beatles took photographs with Cassius Clay instead. And there's two different versions of this card. And this example in a PSA 9 sold for $1,704. Over the pandemic, this card actually skyrocketed quite a bit, but it has gone down a little bit over time. Now, I don't know specifically for the 9 graded copy, but I'm talking about like low to mid grade in general. All right, 1985 Garbage Pail Kids Atom Bomb. There's so many different variants of this card out there. This specific one is a glossy with the checklist back. You also have the cheaters back. You have the matte finish as well. And you also have some foreign issues of these, but we're not going to cover that in today's video. Regardless, the sold price on this one was $1,775. In the number 13 spot, we have a 1989 Rotten to the Core of Donald Trump. The sold price on this one was $1,851, which seems a bit high to me. It's a pop 122 in the PSA 10 grade. 1966 Batman color. Someone actually broke a partial set on these, or maybe it was a full set. But there's actually quite a few 10 sales that are going to appear within the next few slots. So we'll cover what the last 10 sold for and then the sold price. On this one specifically, last 10 sold in 2021 for $985. It sold today for $2,000. So nice doubling of the money there. It's a pop one. Duke N76 Thomas Edison. There's 2 of these that sold this month. A 3 also did $1,400. This 2 sold for $2,000. Now, in my opinion, this 2 has pretty good visual eye appeal. It does have pretty rounded corners on it. I don't have a picture of the 3 at hand to compare the eye appeal on both of those. Sometimes what you see in Duke N76s is 2s and 3s, sometimes like a 3.5 or 4, kind of bunched together within the same price point. But what I will say is the rating standards have changed quite a bit over time. So sometimes those older, higher grades don't look as nice as some of the lower grades of today. Just giving you a heads up on that side of things. But regardless, a very, very strong sale on this. I want to say some of the other 2s have recently sold for about $1,000. So this is double the comp. Maybe someone overpaid. They aren't the easiest cards to find in general. I know 2 sold this month, but regardless. We're going to jump into a few honorable mentions now. Up first, I should mention that we do have a Vintage Non-Sports Facebook group. So if you do want to join that, we're about 2,600 members. I talk about it every single month, just updating the graphic here. I really should because it says 675. But we're trying to scale to 3,000 members pretty soon. So I'd love to have you join the group. Doing some buying, sell, trading, as well as educational content in there. We're going to start off with the 1938 Castell Bros. Typically, because these have rounded corners, you'll find them in pretty high grades, but 10s do bring a pretty hefty premium. This one sold for $1,000, so technically it tied for the number 25 spot this month. Up next, we have a 1989 Topps Nintendo Punch Out with Glass Joe. When I think of Punch Out, I think of Mike Tyson, and this one sold for $750. Up next, we have a hit parade of Eddie Vedder. Vedder has a few cards in the 1990s. This one sold for $525 in a PSA 10. I'm curious if the Kerrang, it's a playing card, if that would be graded a 10. What would that sell for? Way earlier. I know it's not technically a rectangle card like this, but the Kerrang has a black border in the back, so it's very tough to practically gem those. Yeah, and I know Pearl Jam has quite a few fans out there. I still want to see them, but I have seen Vedder live with his band. All right, we have a Snoop Dogg autograph, and this one sold for $500 from 1995 Smash Hits. I probably should have added in the pop, because I'm curious how many of these are autographed. You don't see too many musician autos on cards out there. I think it's kind of an untapped market, but also getting access to musicians is pretty tough because they don't do a ton of public signings. But yeah, pretty strong sale in comparison to what the base sells for. Then another 1990s autograph, Wild Wild West, Rita Escobar. This one sold for $1,000. We have a 1966 ABC Batman to the Batcave. If you aren't familiar with the ABC brand, that was essentially Topps UK. It eventually transformed to Topps UK, I believe in the 70s, if I recall correctly. And there's a whole history behind that as well. Regardless, a very high grade. This one sold on ComC, $1,131. Up next, we have a CAS graded Batman wax pack. Now, full transparency, I am not familiar with CAS, so if you are familiar, please let me know. I don't know, maybe if they're in like Nonsports or like Marvel or DC or comics, different things like that. It always could be, but I'm just not familiar with that out there. This sold for $10,155, so I assume they're somewhat credible for that price point. But also, what I will say is sealed wax for 1966 Batman is quite expensive. Not only do set collectors try to grab that type of stuff because 8s, 9s, and 10s can fetch a premium, but also I've just seen individual packs or boxes go pretty well at auction houses. Mars Attack full set. I think the seller mentioned this is an X condition. It sold for $1,675. There's quite a few cards in this set that people flock to. Prize Captive and card number 1 are pretty famous. Star Wars Series 2 box wrapped by Baseball Card Exchange. This one sold for $3,135. And I think this is our last honorable mention. This is a store ad for Indian Gum. Has card 157. It says, "Have you got this one?" Man, I love this design. This is really sweet with the Gaudi down below. It sold for $1,400. I don't know how much the baseball ones sell for, but it feels like $1,400 is pretty cheap. But I love the graphics on this. I will say that. I don't know what the size of this would be, but it really, really stands out. We do have another honorable mention over here. Marvel Comic Book Heroes box. This sold for $1,250. And now we're jumping into our top 10. We're going to start off with the 1966 Batman color. Again, there's a few other of these in the top 10. This is a pop 1. It sold for $1,325 in 2021. Sold price on this one was $2,200. Another one over here with the Commissioner, as well as Robin and Batman, a police officer. Sold price on this one was $2,500. Pop 1 as well, sold for $1,576 in 2021. Now we have the Penguin. Last sold for $960 in 2021. Pop 1 sold for $2,500. Another Batman over here being the Batcave. It is actually a pop 2, a little bit different than what we saw. The last 10 sold for $1,600. This one sold for $2,500. And yeah, we're switching it up because we're jumping into a Mark Hamill autograph, 1977 Star Wars card number 1. PSA 7 on the card. Autograph has a 9. It does have the inscription of Luke Skywalker. This sold for $2,606. Another Star Wars card over here in a PSA 10. So it's going to a registry collector. It's a pop 15 in a PSA 10. Sold for $2,750. Jumping into number 4 spot, we have a Wolverine card with Jim Lee's autograph. I wasn't familiar with Jim Lee. Looked him up. He's the president, publisher, and chief creative officer of DC Comics. I assume he doesn't sign a lot if this sold for $3,000. Number 3, we have Walt and Mickey from 1931 Wills. It's a pop 31 and a PSA 8. This isn't a super tough card to find. I kind of equate it to like the Gaudi Babe Ruth of non-sports. You can find them out there. People will always want this card, even if there's thousands and thousands out there. This sold for $31.01. Number 2, we have a 2.5 of card number 1 of Superman. Now, overall, I think the eye appeal in this one is pretty nice in comparison to some of the 1s and 2s that I have seen in this series. But from the technical perspective, this should not have gotten a 2.5. It has paper loss if you look at the bottom right corner. So I do disagree just based off of that on getting a 2.5 grade. Probably should get a 1.5. But even then, it has pretty strong eye appeal for a 1.5. And the highest sale this month is Three Stooges Curly card number 1 in a PSA 8. There's only 5 graded higher. It's a pop 25 in a PSA 8. Sold price $4,074. Thanks guys for checking out this video. I'm going to put some other non-sports videos here on the screen right now if you want to check those out. And yeah, I'll catch you guys in another video.